going to focus on a track star whose style of running was unbelievably exciting. His name, Dave Wottle.
Yeah, now for all of you young folk out there, Wottle was an 800-meter Olympic runner back in the 1970s who had a very unique come-from-behind style.
We're talking way behind, like in a different area code behind. Each one of his races was like a novel. He'd start off slow, then he'd become the long shot underdog, getting everybody rooting for him, and then he'd turn on the juice. And in that last stretch, sometimes he would make that race his, and that is why he is in our triumphant category. But here's how he explains it.
Well, I think it started in high school. I think like a lot of athletes, when we first start out in sports, we try to find what our technique is. I found very early in my athletic career that I could just hang back, let others do all the work. You know, they're out there setting all the pace, and they're tired, and you can see them, and all I was doing is hanging on their shoulder, and found that I had that extra energy, that zip at the end of a race to put on the kick.
Now, his stamina was no accident. Wottle ran both the mile and the 800 meters. So how many miles do you think he ran per week in training, Wes?
I don't know, 30?
No, how about 70 to 90? That's like between 10 and 13 miles a day. And the funny thing is, his passion was the mile, but he gravitated to the 800 in a way to get better for that mile. But it turns out the race he excelled in was the 800.
Well, to show you how different things were back in 1972, Wottle was actually competing in the Olympic trials, and he scheduled his wedding, wait for it, 6 days after the trials. That's about 6 weeks prior to the Olympics. His coach suggested that he postpone the wedding to focus on the Olympics, and of course, he declined to do so. But Murph, he's competing in the trials, and at the same time planning a wedding, and then while training for the Olympics, he gets married, all while running 10 to 13 miles a day.
Yeah, I wonder if he took off actual training on his wedding day.
Do you think he took off his hat during the wedding?
You know what, Farzy? That's a good catch. We haven't talked about that yet. Wottle wore this cap at a competition one time, and after that, he never took it off. You could always spot him on the track because he was the guy running with a cap.
Well, to your point, true to form, he wore it during the 800 meters during the 1972 Olympics. And also true to form, Wottle was pretty far behind the leaders coming into that final turn. Then he employed his patented kick to catch the leader at the finish line and ultimately win gold.
Man, that was some kind of race. It was so close, it took a while for those final results to come in.
But when it did, Wottle was declared the winner, and there he was on the victory stand during the national anthem. Lo and behold, the ubiquitous little cap still sitting on his head, which you can imagine caused a little bit of controversy.
You're standing at attention, your hands on your heart, your hat's still on your head.
See, they haven't forgot after 20 years, I still have to answer that question.
What were you protesting?
And that was, I'll tell you, that's good. That was the first question that came out from the press. You know, here I am. I'm excited about winning. I'm tired, you know, and everything's going your way as an athlete, and you're thinking, man, this is going to be fun. And the first thing is, what were you protesting? And that was the first time I realized I had my hat on. It's like a man's wallet. You don't realize it's there. I had my hat on during the awards ceremony.
That hat made it to the Hall of Fame before Wottle did.